Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 27th of June. I'm going to give you the key strands to look out for this week. Please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces, which you can watch in terms of your ascendant or your sun or both. Now this week, of course, does see the new moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, depending on where you are in the world, it's on the 28th or 29th. In terms of Universal Central Time, it's the 29th. And this squares with the buoyant energy of Jupiter. Now, both are in cardinal signs. Cancer, the second of the cardinal quadrants, is very much about protection, nurture, the environment, our home, our family, our feelings. So that upbeat energy, that levitating energy of Jupiter is asking us to find ways, enterprising ways, because I think Jupiter is pushing for that, to add that sense of security at the root of our existences. Now Neptune, the planet of dreams, does begin a retrograde on Tuesday, which will last through to the 4th of December. Neptune's great if we want to embrace a more spiritual dimension, whether it's a more traditional spirituality or something that's more personal and much more to do with our own particular way of experiencing faith. But the retrograde could see us thinking very deeply about these issues over this period of time. But later this week, Neptune gets into a rather destructive right angle with Mercury. Mercury in the sign of Gemini, of course, is in its home sign, and it's very much about clarity and quick wits. So an exchange towards the end of this week may require a little more care, particularly if you're talking about a contract, but some gossip could be doing the rounds, so vital to try to keep things real. But there are two glorious influences this week. Mars forges a very stable angle to Saturn, and also there's a beautiful link between Jupiter and Venus. Now that can actually be very lucky, and if you're wanting to look to add to your family, I understand that this particular aspect can be very helpful, but it's also one where we can socialise and be a bit more free-spirited and live in the moment. Now the more breaking and restrictive energies of Saturn are counterbalanced by the more progressive energies of Mars, which is very much about pushing forwards. So Saturn can act as a bit of an anchor for the more rampant and more impulsive energies of Mars, so that's a very nice balancing influence too. In fact, towards the end of this week, despite the fact that Mercury gets blighted by Neptune, it actually also itself forges a stable link to Saturn. So I think as the week goes on, scrutinising the details around anything is going to be important. And as I say, particularly if you're discussing a contract, a job offer, or you're sending some communication that's important, make sure that you treble check everything before you do press that send button. Now, if you'd like to get a more detailed understanding of the new moon, please see beneath this video and you can watch my new moon special video. But if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. I'm nearly there at the 100,000 subs mark, and if you've already subscribed, I'm very grateful. And if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast and embrace the wonder of more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life, as well as a 12-month personal forecast. These are completely individual to you, and there's 30% off if you see the link beneath this video with my special offer. So Virgo, your week commencing the 27th of June forecast sees a new moon in your sector of the group, of friendships, of your future hopes, and your highest principles and idealism. But it is in a right angle with Jupiter, which can be actually quite a positive. angle. Jupiter square the moon and Jupiter square the sun can be very warm, it can be very generous, but important if you're thinking about finances, for example, to keep a real sense of reality to your approach. Now, Mercury, your ruler, is actually forging a really stable link with Saturn this week. So as much as Mercury then tangles with the retreating Neptune, and that retrograde begins on Tuesday, that can bring a bit of confusion around a business offer, something to do with a job. There may be a little bit of uncertainty, and the best way to deal with that is just take your time probing the opportunities that you have. But despite the potential for confusion or someone offering something that's not quite what it's said to be, with Jupiter in a gorgeous link with Venus, you could really have some kind of financial breakthrough this week, and it could be linked to your work. And so therefore there may be someone who very much gets where you're coming from, and you can forge that bond, and there can be a degree of trust. But just be aware that with Neptune going backwards through to the early part of December, distortion around relationships can also be a factor. It's been the case since 2012. You've had quite a lot of practice of this. It may have brought some real higher moments of harmony into your relating world, Neptune, but it also may have brought some profound disappointments through people not necessarily turning out to be what you first thought them to be. So generally, I think this is a very positive week. Important not to get too caught up in the enthusiasm of Jupiter, but still it can deliver through its link to Venus. After all, they are the two planets of fortune. But later in the week, do scrutinise all information with a great deal of care and precision. But of course, no one can do that better than you.